In my most disliked video of all time, I talk about how piracy is still a bad idea, despite the prevalence of videos saying it was, quote, on the rise or even justified. I stand by what I said in that video, but one comment about how it wasn't exactly like theft made a good point. The short version is he called equating pirating to stealing as a dumb argument because, quote, it isn't like robbing a car or a store. Software and media piracy are the act of copying bytes, which has almost no cost. When someone pirates something, the person doesn't rob anyone, it's just not paying for the access. His words, not mine. He then defines theft as, quote, the act of taking something, service or property, from someone without their consent, reaffirming that's illegal in most countries. He then calls piracy, quote, a result of bad service, and cites Steam as a good example of making the legal version easier than pirating. That comment made me realize that the more appropriate comparison isn't stealing, but trespassing, because in both instances, those who do that are typically bypassing a paywall or entering private property without the consent of the owner, which is why piracy is still illegal. If someone sneaks into a movie theater, concert, theme park, sports game, museum, transit vehicle, or anywhere you have to buy a ticket to get into without buying one, I think we can all agree that's not the same thing as shoplifting or the theft of tangible goods. However, it's still trespassing because there is a paywall, and is a crime because of that, and the fact that is someone else's private property, which they have a right to decide who can be there. Pirating is, quote, just not paying for the access, as the commenter said, and if it's a crime to sneak into a place that requires paid admission, then piracy is also a crime because it's bypassing the paywall, even if it's, quote, copying bytes instead of sneaking into a building. In the case of movies, TV, video games, software in general, etc., the rights holders are the owners of those. As I've said in previous videos, and I'm going to say here, when you buy a physical copy of something, what you own is the copy of something with the license to use it for private viewership use. The same license you get when you purchase a digital copy. I really hate the phrase owning media because it implies you bought the intellectual property rights. Spoiler alert, you did not. The publishers still own those rights. Sure, you can more easily loan a physical copy to a friend. It's a little more difficult for access to be revoked. But at the end of the day, the license is good as long as the physical copy is usable, whether it's a cassette tape or VHS, DVD or Blu-ray, or a printed book. Tapes can become worn out, discs can rot or become unusable by scratches, and paper can only last so long depending on storage conditions and how often it is handled. Getting back to the trespassing analogy, I view media as experiences, just like everything I cited earlier that requires buying a ticket. Okay, like software that isn't a video game, the transit vehicles are utilities, but those still have paywalls because it costs the companies that run them money to operate. Just like the experiences I listed, as well as the studios, developers, and publishers that produce media and software. Nothing in life is free. Just like resources from the earth require time, effort, and money to be made usable, media costs money and effort to produce. Whether it's a masterpiece like Wall-E or utter garbage like Joker 2, it takes more effort to get closer to the quality level of Wall-E, but Andrew Stanton deserves proper compensation for his work. And while Joker 2 is utter garbage, I'd still argue Todd Phillips deserves to be paid for his time by Warner Brothers. If he loses future work because Warner Brothers and other studios don't trust him after Joker 2, that's his own fault because it's a consequence of his decision to, quote, own the chuds, rather than make a good sequel if he wouldn't leave it alone. As far as I'm concerned, bypassing the paywall of a subscription or physical or digital purchase to access and experience media is no different than sneaking into a venue or fare evasion. Just like all of those take away money that could have gone towards maintenance, paying employees, or anything else necessary to run the business, piracy still takes away compensation from the people who made the experience of that media possible in the first place. I'm not talking about the rich celebrities and executives. I'm talking about the below the line workers who build the sets, among other grunt work. They may not be getting long term royalties like the actors, but if the money isn't there, the jobs will disappear like African penguins due to their food supply being destroyed by overfishing. On top of that, added expenses would end up being passed along to the consumer, like increased transit fares due to excessive fare evasion. I personally believe that if fare evaders paid their fare, it might not cost what it costs, or would delay price hikes such as that by the MTA in New York City at the start of this year. Even if the prices were where they are at now, I'd feel better knowing the MBTA here in the greater Boston area would have the money to maintain everything properly. I also believe that if the fare evaders weren't on the transit vehicles in the first place, there'd be less wear and tear on the vehicles, plus extra room, even if it's just a little. My point is that I still think piracy is bad. Maybe I'm a little biased because I sell books on Amazon, but at the end of the day, just not paying for the access, like the comment in my last video about piracy said, is less like stealing and more like trespassing. Pirating content or software is more like sneaking into somewhere that requires a paid ticket for access, rather than robbing someone. Someone owns the venue, just like someone owns the intellectual property rights. And last I checked, private property rights are a thing. So yes, piracy is illegal for a reason, and it's more accurate to compare it to trespassing than stealing. I invite you to make whatever points you'd like to in the comments, so I might see something differently, like the comment that made me realize trespassing is the better comparison, and gave me the idea for this video. Otherwise, if you agree with me, give the video a like. Comment if I changed your mind or if you have a better analogy. Make sure to also subscribe for cultural commentary and rants from a man caught between generations. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.